So what does a $15 an hour minimum wage really do?
This video is an absolute train crash because literally watch this baby boomer fail to understand just the basic components of how our economy works.
So Walmart and McDonald's now have to hire 16-year-old kids getting their first job and pay them $15 an hour. Well, they're obviously going to hire less people. So hope you like ringing up your own groceries at the self-check.
Okay, real quick break right here. Think about this for like 1 second. Do you really think that employers are hiring extra people for no reason? No, by definition, under capitalism, to maximize profits, they will always hire the absolute minimum number of people required to run their business anyway. So if you increase minimum wage, they already don't have a capacity to hire less people. So it is simply not true. Let's keep going.
But the other thing that it does, they keep talking about pulling people out of poverty. But it doesn't pull anybody out of poverty. It might raise the level a little bit of what's considered poverty. But it's going to drag the rest of us back towards that line when the prices go up and our wages don't. The ones of us who have done it the right way, got a job and busted our ass and got advancement and raises. And you see, an adult isn't meant to work for minimum wage.
Okay, this is so unhinged. What do you mean, got a job? People who are working for minimum wage literally have jobs doing it the right way. That doesn't make literally any sense. And on top of that, yes, it would literally pull tons of people out of poverty. There are tons of people who are living in poverty right now working for minimum wage. People who are on food stamps and other public benefit programs because minimum wage is literally not enough to survive. And so, yes, it would lift a ton of people out of poverty. Additionally, on top of that, it's very important to remember that as minimum wage increases, that actually makes wages more competitive, generally speaking, and typically lifts everybody else's wages. And another point, no, raising the minimum wage will not really lead to a massive increase in prices. The increase in prices is going to happen regardless because giant companies love causing inflation because they want to normalize increased profit margins for themselves. So they will increase prices no matter what, gradually over time anyway, as part of inflation. And if you actually look at the profit margins that companies actually make, you will start to realize really, really quickly that paying into wages is not necessarily the biggest part of what these companies are spending their money on. And it's not really the hugest expense. In fact, that really theoretically was the whole reason for putting in place hourly wages as opposed to salary or per unit work in the first place. The whole idea was to completely separate productivity from wages. By effectively renting somebody on an hourly basis, you could take all the fruits of their labor and have complete ownership of it, and the cost of labor would no longer have a direct relationship to actual productivity. That is one of the ways that capitalists have managed to secure incredibly high profit margins for themselves, so that it's harder for workers to actually bargain for their full work, because it just becomes less measurable because there's more disconnect between what you actually do and how much you produce for a company and what you are getting paid. Because to take a factory, for example, it used to be the case that in a factory you would get paid per unit you produced. And so you could see how much the units were being sold for and bargain for a fair wage that was based off of how much you were putting out. When you switch that to hourly, then as production increases rapidly, but wages stay the same, voila, giant companies get huge profit because productivity is then completely disconnected from wages.